I remember when I was about 14 years old, just starting golf, so late for some professionals. The first book that I picked up and read in order to try and make myself understand what the game was about, what the golf swing is about, was Jack Nicklaus's book, Golf My Way. That left a lasting impression on me, and a lot of the messages in that book resonate to this day. What I want to do is to chat and describe some of the keys that I got from that book, some of the takeaways that I had that helped me to understand how the game should be played, how the golf club should be swung, and I want to share those with you, and perhaps you can use those to enhance your golf further. The first of the many pieces of advice that left a massive impression on me was Jack talking about before each season, he would go back and see his own coach, Jack Grout, and go through all of the different fundamentals, pretty much from starting again. Now, obviously a world-class player like Jack Nicklaus doesn't have to go back to square one, or you wouldn't think he would, but he certainly covered off the fundamentals. There's a lesson in that. But the biggest one of them all that sort of resonated with me anyway was the idea that his head had to stay quite steady. Doesn't mean stock still, but definitely very steady. If when you're swinging the club, you have any movement with the upper body moving around as you're playing the shot, that's going to disrupt balance, it'll disrupt swing plane, and it'll also affect how the club meets the ground. So keeping the head steady is absolutely critical. Now you can monitor that. One way of doing it is to record yourself, just like we've got a couple of cameras running here, we can check. In real time, you can watch your reflection in a window, a mirror, or even your shadow is even better. Shadow may not necessarily pick up vertical movement, but it will certainly pick up lateral movement. Now, in order to keep the head steady, you're not trying to create tension, you're just trying to create movement through your body without your upper body moving around. The lower body, certainly it'll move, but the head, ideally not. It'll move a little bit, but steady and absolutely stock still are two different things. We definitely don't try and keep it absolutely stock still. So when I'm setting up and playing my shots, particularly if I've got, say, the sun behind me, which is not at the moment, but let's say my shadow's cast forward, I can make a practice backswing, and if I've got any movement with my head one way or the other, I'm going to detect that straight away. Now, what I'm looking to do is get the feeling of how I'm moving when my head's stable. So it's controlling the movement of my lower body and the movement of my upper body. Now, if that means I've got to restrict my turn initially until I get used to it and build it up, then so be it. So I want my head to stay really nice and steady as I move back and through. And you can be the judge as to whether my head stayed stable until impact. After that, no problem. The second thing that we talked about was having the body move, but not move around too much. So ideas that we've got around how the body should move, because we certainly want some movement with the lower body, because that's what is going to help to generate our force and power, and also give control and movement to the upper body. When I set myself up and turn to the end of my backswing, my head stayed nice and stable, but I also don't have any shift in my lower body. And as I've mentioned in other videos, as I turn back, my right leg looks to stay on the same angle that it did at address. Now, in fact, that does mean the middle of my body actually does move, but from a visual perspective, looking from front on, we won't see that movement. In the downswing, however, it's quite different. As the club swings down, the lower body will move forward. Now, my head's not moving forward, but my lower body is definitely drifting forward as I start that downswing movement. So that still keeps my body overall, it keeps it very, very stable as I'm moving back and through, which means that, again, the path that the club's following, how my arms and club are moving, are going to be a lot more predictable in terms of getting the club to the ground correctly, a lot more consistent in striking the ball correctly. The final thing I want to talk about that I really took a lot of notice of is the idea that Nicklaus never played a shot without first planning it, without first thinking about it. Now, he was talking about in practice as well. Now, if we consider practice, for example, the thinking might be that I'm going to focus on my technique, so it might be a point of technique, but there's a purpose for that particular shot. So no shot is just played as a random, haphazard shot, because if you think that each shot you play has the potential to start to layer habit movements, we want to make sure that they're good ones. If the practice shot is one where he's trying to create a shape, that's a purpose. If it's a competitive shot, it's specific to a target or trying to hit a certain number of shots to a target, again, there's a purpose. Now, of course, on the golf course, it's even more intense than that. So there's a target selected. There's a visualization of that shot going to the target, probably a feel in the body of how that club's moving, and then the shot's produced. Now, he spent his entire career going through that, won 18 majors, more majors than any other players ever achieved, and maybe likely will ever achieve. And so those words of wisdom need to be heeded by all of us. The three key things again, the first one was that we want the head to stay steady, which is really body control. The second thing is we want the body to move around, but not too much. So we're stabilizing the motion of the lower body with some small amount of movement. And the final thing is that every shot's played with a purpose. You're picturing the shot, you're getting a feel for the shot. There's nothing random about it. If you like these ideas and you want to find out other ways that you can do more to enhance your own shots, then in the description below there's a link to download free videos, 4 free videos, which talk about what we're looking to create at Impact so that you can hit shots of the caliber that some of the best players in the world can do.